What is up, everybody? It's your boy Gen X Lifer, back keeping our best times alive. Today we're diving feet first into the world of iconic 80s shoes. These weren't just shoes, they were statements. They told the world who you were, what music you listened to, and what crew you rolled with. From the basketball courts to the skate parks, every subculture had its signature shoe. And the crazy part, a lot of these styles are still super popular today. It just shows how timeless these designs were and how much of an impact they made. We're going to be looking at the legends, the game changers, the shoes that walked, ran, danced, and skated their way into pop culture history. So, lace them up or slip them on, because we're about to embark on an awesome journey through the coolest kicks of the 1980s. Trust me, you're going to want to stick around for this one. Let's get into it. All right, first up, we absolutely have to talk about a true legend, the Nike Air Force One. When they first dropped in '82, they were marketed as basketball shoes, but they quickly became a staple in urban culture. Every kid in my neighborhood, every cool older dude, they were all rocking Air Force One S. They had this chunky silhouette that was so different from anything else out there, and that little bit of air technology felt like you were walking on clouds. Getting your first pair of Uptowns was a rite of passage. They were more than just shoes, they were a status symbol. The crazy thing about Air Force One S in the 80s was their versatility. You'd see guys hooping in them at parties, just hanging out on the block everywhere. Those classic all-white highs. Keeping those clean was a full-time job, but it was worth it. They became deeply intertwined with the burgeoning hip-hop scene. Rappers were shouting them out, DJs were spinning in them, and b-boys were probably trying to breakdance in them. If you wanted to look cool, Air Force One S were non-negotiable. The demand was so insane that Nike actually considered discontinuing them at one point, but the people weren't having it. They kept asking for them, creating this Color of the Month club with local retailers. That grassroots demand is what kept the Air Force One alive and kicking. For us teens back then, owning a pair was like unlocking a new level of cool. Even now, seeing someone rock a classic pair of Air Force One S brings back so many memories. They truly set the standard for what a cool sneaker could be. Next up, let's switch gears and talk about the Converse Chuck Taylor All-Stars. Originally basketball shoes from the 1920s, they had a massive resurgence in the 80s. They became the unofficial footwear of rock and roll, punk, and anyone who wanted to look effortlessly cool and a little bit rebellious. Picture any 80s rock band, and chances are at least one member was stomping around on stage in a pair of beat-up Chucks. They were cheap, comfortable once you broke them in, and had this raw, unpretentious vibe. Whether it was high tops or low tops, black, white, or any of the crazy colors and patterns, Chuck Taylors were everywhere in the rock scene. For us kids who were into rock music, getting a pair of Chucks was like joining the club. The more worn out and thrashed they looked, the cooler they were. People would draw on them, write band names, lyrics, whatever. They became a canvas for your personality. They were perfect for jumping around, moshing, and just soaking in the energy of a live show. Chucks crossed over into so many subcultures because they were accessible and versatile. You could wear them with ripped jeans and a band tee for that classic rocker look, or pair them with something a bit more preppy. They had this chameleon-like quality while always retaining that core identity of coolness and rebellion. The cultural impact was huge. They were a visual shorthand for a certain type of independent spirit. Even though they'd been around for decades, the 80s really cemented their place as a permanent fixture in youth culture. Adidas superstars breaking ankles and beats. Let's talk about another giant from the 80s sneaker scene, the Adidas Superstar. These shoes with that iconic shell toe were revolutionary, especially in the world of hip-hop and breakdancing. You can't talk about Adidas superstars in the 80s without talking about Run DMC. They rocked them laceless, tongues out, and even wrote a whole song about them, My Adidas. The flat, durable sole was perfect for breakdancing. They crossed over from the inner city streets and breakdancing ciphers into mainstream fashion. Even today, the Adidas Superstar is a staple. Reebok freestyles, dancing queens, and aerobic dreams. Let's pivot to another huge 80s scene, the dance club and the aerobic studio. For that, there was one shoe that absolutely dominated, the Reebok Freestyle. The Freestyle, often called the 5411 after its style number, was a game changer when it came out in '82. It was one of the first athletic shoes designed specifically for women, particularly for the aerobics craze. Jane Fonda was a superstar, leg warmers were everywhere, and the Reebok Freestyle was the perfect shoe to complete that look. They were soft, comfortable, and looked amazing. They usually came in bright colors too, alongside the classic white and black. Hot pink, electric blue, sunshine yellow. It was a rainbow of fitness fashion. And those double Velcro straps at the ankle, so iconic. The Freestyles quickly became a fashion statement outside the gym too. They represented this new era of women embracing fitness and fashion simultaneously. In the dance clubs, they were also a massive hit. Their lightweight design and flexible sole made them great for dancing. The popularity of the Reebok Freestyle in the 80s was phenomenal. They were more than just a shoe, they were a cultural phenomenon. Van slip-ons, skating, cruising, and just chillin'. Last but definitely not least, we gotta talk about a brand that's synonymous with California cool and skate culture. Vans, specifically the Van slip-on. The Van slip-on, especially the checkerboard pattern, became an absolute icon in the 80s, thanks in huge part to the movie Fast Times. When Jeff Spicoli, played by Sean Penn, rocked those checkerboard slip-ons, it was like a cultural explosion. Suddenly, kids everywhere, whether they skated or not, wanted a pair. But Vans had been a staple in the skateboarding community long before Spicoli. Skaters loved them for their sticky, waffle pattern rubber sole and durable canvas uppers. The slip-on just made it even easier, no laces to rip or get caught. I remember seeing the checkerboard pattern everywhere after that movie. It was such a bold, graphic statement. They were comfortable, easy to wear, and just had this super chill vibe. They were the perfect shoe for hanging out, going to the beach, or hitting the skate park. They represented a lifestyle. The 80s were a time when subcultures really started to influence mainstream trends, and skate culture was a huge part of that. Vans slip-ons were at the forefront, carrying that authentic, rebellious, and free-spirited vibe to kids all over the country and the world. Lacing up and signing off. And there you have it, guys. What a trip, right? Going through all those iconic 80s shoes, the Air Force Ones, the Chuck Taylors, the Adidas Superstars, Reebok Freestyles, and Van slip-ons. These weren't just footwear. They were a huge part of our identity, our culture, and some of the best times of our lives. We really hope you enjoyed this pop culture journey back to the 80s. If you did, hit that like button and definitely subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on our next adventure. Let us know in the comments what you thought. Did we miss any sneakers? Which was your favorite? Let us know if there are any other 80s topics you want us to dive into. Drop a comment below and tell us your sneaker story. Remember that we belong to the greatest generation ever, Generation X. Keep being awesome, stay healthy, and God bless.